What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Brad Watts. Thanks for tuning in today to the program. You're listening to the Nutrition Hero Podcast. If you follow us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. If you are a YouTuber, make sure that you click the thumbs up button. We appreciate it. All right, today's topic at hand is a law, and I don't know if it's psychology, if it's physics, or maybe we just call it reality and encompasses all of it, but it's called Parkinson's law. And today we're going to talk about productivity. So Parkinson's law of productivity. One of the things I get asked quite often, and it kind of makes me smile, is, Dr. Brad, how do you get everything done during the day? How do you get everything done? And if you know me, it's because I consult to a couple of different companies, treat my own patients, and have a family, 2 little kids. I write. I like to do this podcast, all this stuff. And with that in mind, people want to know, how do you get everything accomplished? And I'll tell you, I didn't until I learned this lesson about Parkinson's law. So I'm going to paint you a picture of what the day was like previously and what the day is like now. So maybe you resonate with one of these. I have a hunch. But you wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, grab your coffee, whatever it is you're drinking, and you're jumping into your car, into traffic, and you're listening to the radio, you're listening to podcasts, CDs, whatever it is, where you're trying to get enough education on your way to work. And so my commute was a healthy 30 minutes. And so at that point, you're driving into the clinic and getting everything organized. Oh my goodness. Turning your car into a college. I love it. And you get a lot done and you learn a lot of stuff, right? And so if that's you, you're going through that process, trying to wedge enough information into your first hour of the day. You get to the office, you walk in, the lights are on, the people are there already, and you sit down and you're neck deep in the first 15 minutes in patients and emails and phone calls of people to get back to, marketing decisions to make, business decisions, somebody wants money for this and that, etc. And you are running around till lunchtime in a haze of decisions. Eat some food, roll in at 1 o'clock again, and start your afternoon shift, and there you go, back at it, neck deep. By the time the afternoon rolls around, you have something called decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is this. You don't even care the outcome. You just don't want to have to make any more decisions. So you just start picking things left and right without critical thinking. By the end of the day, you are listening to Bruce Springsteen on the way home, in traffic, windows down, with your mouth open because you are exhausted. And go home, meet up with the family, have dinner, play with your kids, go to bed, do it all over again. So that was a life before I understood this law that I learned about. And today, when we talk about productivity, I'm going to give you this information. None of this is original, and I want you to know that. I'll give people credit where credit is due as much as I can. If you're listening to this and I miss something and you're the one that told me about it, then I apologize in advance. So let's start with Parkinson's law of productivity. Productivity is something that is, sometimes people look at it as their identity. And it doesn't have to be your identity. If you look at it as a thing, it's a thing, right? It's like a plant. You can either have a terrible, crappy little plant, or you can water it and you can have an awesome, beautiful plant that you're proud of. And the difference between the two is understanding this law called Parkinson's law of productivity. Here's the law, all right? Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Oh, that's angering. That'll get you every time. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur in an industry that is notorious for being time-based, and you're trying to peel yourself apart from charging for your time, then Parkinson's law, you need to own this thing. You need to figure this out big time. So work expands to fill the time available for its completion. That means if you have 3 hours to complete something, it's going to take 3 hours. If you have 12 hours, it's going to take 12 hours. That's irritating, right? That's super irritating. Here's to further this law. The demand upon a resource tends to expand to match the supply of the resource. The demand upon a resource tends to expand to match the supply. Oh, that's irritating as well. Right? So if you don't know this and you wake up every day and you're like, what in the world? How do I fix this? How am I supposed to write my blog? How am I supposed to write my book? How am I supposed to do a podcast? How in the world do I take on any more patients if I don't have enough time to figure this out right now? I just need to hire more people. I need whatever. And then you end up with 2 employees, 3 employees, 10 employees that are all operating with the same problem, and so you're getting the same amount of work done that you did when it was just 2 employees. And it's because Parkinson's law is left uncontrolled, and it's crazy. So I'm going to talk to you today about how I have learned to basically control Parkinson's law and open up a little bit of time for you to enjoy some sunshine in your family. And I know this sounds crazy, but the first thing is spending the first hour of your day on you. The first hour of your day, not the hour that you're driving to work. I'm talking about the first hour before you sit down in a car and do anything, before you turn on the radio, before you look at a newspaper, before you look at your email, any one of your 5 email addresses, before you get down and look at your desk at patient files, before you work on notes from yesterday because you're so busy you didn't have time to do them, before you do any of that, spending the first hour of your day on you. Now, I'm not talking about putting in information that drains you. I'm talking about putting in information that builds you up, right? Now, Parkinson's law, okay, if work expands to fill the time available for its completion, if that's reality, which it is, then we want to figure out how to sidestep that, okay? So how do you beat gravity? You get in a plane, right? How do we beat Parkinson's law? Well, I'm going to show you. So here's what we're doing. The first hour of your day, you need to spend it on you. What I've found is that there are things that suck productivity away from you, and there are things that enhance your productivity. And this is really cool. Spending this hour, it's like a savings account, right? Spending the first hour of your day on you is a really big deal. So when I read this and I heard about this from a gentleman named Ben Settle, Settle. He's kind of abrasive, just warning you, but there's a lot of wisdom in him. So with this though, I learned this and I thought, there's no way. I already don't have enough time to brush my teeth at home, let alone spend an hour doing nothing or reading things that, I feel like fill me up, or meditating on things that I feel like fill me up. And what am I going to do with the rest of my time? How am I going to fit everything else in during the day? And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to try it. And so I spent a week. I said, if it doesn't work after a week, then I'm out. I'm not doing it. And so for a week, what I did every day is I woke up 30 minutes earlier and I went to work 30 minutes later. And I decided that I was going to have an hour of just me time. And sometimes I'd fill that time, with my kids in the morning. Sometimes I wake up early. And so you sit and you talk to your little kid for 15 or 20 minutes. And that's like a big deal because I wouldn't do that before, and they're 3 years old and 5 years old. That time, turns out, is kind of precious. And so that is something that I would do. Or sit and meditate on things that I feel like fill me up. One of the things that I'll do is read old text. So stuff that's real old. Like I just read a little bit this morning from a book that is 150 years old. And the reason I do that is because it reminds me of what people are actually like, right? You can read Us Magazine or the New York Times, and they'll tell you what people are like, their version. But I don't think that's reality necessarily. Just because life is moving faster than it was 150 years ago, there are some truths that you're going to find apply even today. And it's speaking to those truths that just create important communication. So anyway, that's one of the things that I do. And so I'll do that in the morning. I might sit and meditate on truths that I find valuable, rather than facts that I find need to change, right? And write that down if you never heard that one before. When we look at spending the first hour of your day, what you're doing is, if you are allowing yourself to be filled up during that hour, the rest of your day's productivity is like your brain times 10. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the reason is that you're not obeying the Parkinson's law of productivity. You're not obeying it. You're going in direct opposition to it by saying, oh yeah? Well, how about this? I'm going to spend the first hour of my day doing something that would traditionally look as unproductive, right? Are you making money during that hour? No. Are you helping people during that hour? No. But what you're doing is you are maximizing your attention, your ability to spend attention, your productivity for the rest of the day, right? The 12-hour day is suddenly you're going to start getting stuff done in 8. I'm not kidding you. All right, ask me how I know. So, very cool. I went from working 7 to 7 quite often during the week to being in a spot where, like today, I'm planning on being done by 3:30. And I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to get my kids, I'm going to hang out with them, I'm going to go to the gym. It's going to be awesome. I'm planning on my day being done because I have found out this law, Parkinson's law. I didn't create Parkinson's law, obviously. I read about it only because I was talking to an engineer that was making a joke, an engineer joke, and he said, yeah, it's kind of like Parkinson's law. And I smiled and was like, yeah, I don't know what that is. And he goes, oh, you should read about it. It'd probably help you in your business. Oh, my word. It was like the lights went on. It's awesome. So let me review Parkinson's law with you here once again. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. All right. Kind of like this. You ever had a patient visit and you schedule them every 20 minutes? Guess what? They're done in 20 minutes. If you have one visit scheduled for that hour, guess what happens? That visit tends to expand into that whole hour, and it's wild. So further, the demand on a resource tends to expand to match the supply of the resource. So another way of saying all of this is this. The amount of time that you have to perform a task is the amount of time that it's going to take to complete the task. Interesting. So I was at one point a doctor that walked around saying, I value my time more than anything, because I felt like I didn't have so much of it. I value my time more than anything. And what's interesting to me is that even though I valued my time more than anything, it was my most precious resource, I did not know how to spend it appropriately because of this Parkinson's law stuff. So dig in on it. I'm encouraging you, just take a week, spend an hour on the front end of your day doing stuff that fills you up. I don't care if you're stretching, like I said, looking at the sunrise. I don't care if you're doing that or staring at a wall, whatever it is that you feel fills you up. Go for a walk, whatever it is. Enjoy it and look at your productivity climb. All right. Now, there are a couple of other things that once I found out about this Parkinson's law business, I thought, well, what in the world? It can't be the only thing that I don't know about around productivity. And so there are some tools that I'm going to share with you here that I have found to be invaluable. Right? So one of the biggest pain in the necks that you're going to find being a business owner is waking up having to go through all of your email on the front end of your day, right? And your email is the place where people that don't really want to talk to you, they just want to get your attention, right? I call them emotional terrorists. They're not brave enough to call you and talk to you. They just want to drop you a line that lets you know that you're doing awesome or you're not doing awesome for them, right? So I want something, but it's not important enough for me to call you. I'm going to drop you an email. Well, you're going to have like 60 emails in your inbox when you wake up in the morning, and if you don't get through all of them, what happens? Well, you got 30 left over from yesterday and 60 more, and now you have 90 the next day. And it starts to pile up, and pretty soon your inbox is full of 2,000 unopened emails, and you're just looking at it like, what in the world am I supposed to do? Now, there is a tool that doubles as my news feed now from my inbox. And this tool is something that is absolutely critical to the success of my day now. And I'm going to give you this information for free. All right, so hang into this. It's called Unroll Me. Unroll, UNROLL.me. Unroll Me. Unroll Me is an email management system. It's free, and it is probably the best thing I have found in the last 12 months. It is a phenomenal tool. What it does is it essentially logs all of the subscriptions you have to email, and it gives you a choice to make. It says, do you want to keep on subscribing to this, or do you want to unsubscribe? Right? It's phenomenal. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to use it. I'm going to figure it out, see what happens. And I decided to go ahead and enter my information, give them the codes to my email. And sure enough, I found myself unsubscribing from 67 daily newsletters, stuff that I didn't want to know about. At one time I probably did, right? But now it does not do me any good. And it just clutters my inbox, and my inbox being cluttered clutters my mind. It stresses me out, and it creates that decision fatigue. And so one of the things I found is this Unroll Me. Now they have a service in the Unroll Me website called Rollup. What it does is it creates a daily digest of the emails you actually want to read. It customizes like the Brad Watts news, and I think it's cool. Like, it gives you your own newspaper, control over your own newspaper every morning. So mine hits my inbox at 7:01 every morning, and what's awesome is that I can roll down to my computer, open it up, and it does not. So what it does is it takes them out of my inbox and puts them on this roll-up thing, creates my digest of the stuff that I want to read, and takes it out of my inbox so that it's not there. I don't have to look at it twice. I don't have to do anything except open up the roll-up for the day, and I can read whatever it is I want to read. It is awesome. Phenomenal. And it allows me to get done my email. It allows me to get it done in like 25 minutes instead of an hour and a half of just trash. And it is awesome. That hour and a half down to 25 minutes. Now I have an extra hour and some change that I'm doing what I want to do at the end of the day, rather than slogging through email, not getting to my writing or my podcasting, whatever it is, until the end of the day. So it's pretty cool, right? So unroll.me. It's an email management system. It allows you to create a daily digest of the stuff you actually want to read, the stuff that actually gives you value, right? And you want to be up on things. So there are some that I keep track of on a daily basis, whether it be marketing or nutrition, research, that type of stuff. It is pretty awesome. So, and it's a secret, right? So if you want to separate yourself from the crowd, don't share that information, right? So, all right. Another thing that I found to increase my productivity, and I think I've found this probably 3 or 4 years ago, is Gmail allows you to have specific search functions, right, in Google itself. And so what's cool is that one of the things I pride myself on is you don't need to know everything, you just need to know how to find it. And so that becomes you developing into a good detective. Well, most people are terrible detectives. Most people have no idea how to use Google, right? They just type in whatever it is they want plus some other thing and see what they come up with. And if it's not on the first page of Google, then they're done. Well, did you know that Google has a whole bunch of different search commands that you can do? Like if you want to find research, I don't go to a website and use their search function. I use Google, okay? And if you go to like PubMed and you want to use their search engine, sometimes it's not helpful because it doesn't search with common language. It searches with Latin. PubMed does. All right, so if you want research, use the Google search function and then isolate a website and search it from there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link to an infographic that shows you in one page how to use Google. Most people have no idea about this stuff. And this is what separates you from, what I would call ad gold, right? So if you're somebody that looks at Google and if I tell you go find this on Google, and all of a sudden you're in the black hole of Google, and AdWords gets to look at you 77 times in an hour because it takes you an hour to find everything, right? You are Google's target market, right? AdWords loves you. What I'm saying is make sure that you use Google as a tool instead of Google using you as a tool. Super easy, but it requires some specific language that you need to know about. So click the link in the podcast notes below, and it goes straight to an infographic on some guy's website here that basically sums it up, and it is phenomenal. So if you can become an expert at finding information, you never have to memorize stuff. If you can become an expert at finding information, then it's going to take out a massive chunk of your day, right? A massive chunk of your day. I don't know the stats on this, but I would bet that most people spend an awful lot of time on Google just searching for random stuff that they don't, like they're perusing Google like a newspaper rather than using it like a magnifying glass, right? And Google is a big black hole of information that will suck you in. So don't let Google use you, use Google. So follow the link, get it handled, figure out how to be a master detective. It's going to save you a ton of time. And even if you just memorize one or two of these commands that you can use, oh my gosh, it's going to make a big difference. So the Google search function. It's a cheat sheet, infographic, get it. All right, moving on. Next one. So there's a productivity tool that I found from a doctor named Dr. Ruben Valdez, and he's been on the podcast before. We talked cognitive decline with him, but he uses a product called Flock. Flock is like Instant Messenger for 2018. And Flock is a program that you download on your computer and allows everybody that in your office that is on a computer immediate access to the same information so that you're not having the same conversations 14 times every day. One of the things I found is that as my number of employees grows, my number of conversations also grows. Well, that's irritating if it's the same stuff every day. Right? Now, you can all have, it's like everybody working at the same desk, which is phenomenal. If you're all working at the same desk on the same projects, then everybody's up to date with the latest information on that project. Then you don't have to have decisions that are made 14 times. You can just do it one time, move on with the rest of your day. It's called Flock. It allows secure messaging. It also allows secure document transfer back and forth to each other. And it's cool. It's one of the things that I have found great value in as of late. And you don't have to be in the same office. It's cloud-based and very, very cool. So it's called Flock. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about is something that expands into the health realm, but it also has to do with productivity. And I'm writing a book about it right now called Killing Chronic Disease. And the book is essentially done. But Killing Chronic Disease is about the secret sauce in healthcare. It's about why some patients get better and some don't. It's the difference between two patients with the same problem. One has DNA genetic advantage. One has, in addition to genetic advantage, it also has socioeconomic advantage, right? And so this person is above the curve, but they're still dealing with the disease. And put next to them somebody that has a poor DNA. Man, they just got the short end of the stick in the DNA pool. They're broke. They don't have a lot of money. They got a problem. But guess which one gets better? The one that has the terrible DNA. The one that's broke. So despite biological and socioeconomic disadvantage, they get better. And I see this in practice, and I go, what in the world? Why is this happening? And it applies here to your productivity as well, because it's all based on paradigms. And so in the book, Killing Chronic Disease, if you want information on it, you can go to chronicdis-ease.com. Right? Play on words, right? chronicdis-ease.com. So there's a dash between dis and ease. So what you're finding in this information, right, is that there is a paradigm that is compatible with health and wellness in the physical body. And there's a paradigm that is also compatible with massive productivity in your day. Did you know that manufacturers, skilled manufacturers, there's actually this thing called lean manufacturing, Lean. Lean manufacturing. And there's these people that go to school for like a decade to become black belts in lean manufacturing. And it's just a study of how you get more done with less resource and less time. And it's a paradigm. And in the same way that there's this paradigm in manufacturing, there's also this paradigm in health and wellness. And in Killing Chronic Disease, what I do is I lay out how you actually can organize this paradigm, how you can participate with it as opposed to fighting against it. And I'm not talking about take your fish oil and all that kind of stuff, which is great, right? What I'm talking about is actually deeper than that. The root of chronic disease and the root of something you could call chronic wellness if you want, right? And there are two different paradigms that are present there. One of them is a paradigm that states do, be, have. You have to do something in order to be something in order to have something. Okay? Another one is a paradigm that says am, have, do. I am already, I have already, and now I'm going to go do something with it. One of those paradigms is consistent with sickness and disease. One of those paradigms is consistent with time poverty. One of those paradigms is consistent with a lack of productivity. The other paradigm is consistent with massive amounts of productivity, right? Massive amounts of productivity. It is consistent with massive amounts of health and healing. It is also consistent with the paradigm that is already inborn in your body. All right, so let's say, I'm going to give you the difference between the two paradigms here in a story version. And let's say that you're a farmer, a Midwestern farmer. We're in Minnesota right now, I am anyway, and let's say that you are out on the open prairie and you are a corn farmer. And one of the things that stuns me very often is the length of vacation that logic has taken in the healthcare. And like logic has essentially been touring the beaches of the world for at least the last 2 decades. And what I mean by that is these two paradigms have been hidden in plain sight. Okay, it's logic. All right, so imagine a farmer spending, let's say, $16,000 on fertilizer for his farm, and he loads it up in the spreaders, sends the team of hired hands out there to the pasture, and he starts throwing that liquid gold right on the field. Right, covers the land in this fertilizer, and he's sees the tanks drained, and he's like, all right, job's complete, day is done, come on, spring rain, right? And so June hits, farmer's still a little stressed out because there's no growth coming out of the ground, right? He put all that fertilizer on there, but there's no growth. There is no growth, not even a single shoot, right? He's stressing out a little bit. There should be at least a little bit of corn coming up by now, not like the fruit of it, but at least the stalk. So he panics a little bit, and he busts the piggy bank open again, and he goes out, $16,000 again. More liquid gold to get more of this fertilizer. Hired hands, gets everything taken care of. Right, sweltering heat of August rolls around, and here he is, this guy. He's really stressed out now. His blood pressure is starting to peak. No crops. There's not even a single stalk on his fields. Right? His friends try to talk him into doing a different fertilizer. Maybe try a different chemical. Use a different one. Right, see how that goes. Maybe you can have a harvest. Maybe we can save the harvest come October. Right? So another $16K, hired hands, the whole deal. And he's praying to the farm gods, right? And so now it's October, and instead of going out to the farm, he's going to the psychiatrist because he dropped his entire budget. All the chemicals, 3 rounds of it. All the hired hands got paid. He's left with, the pennies in the bank. And the question with the story is what in the world went wrong, right? And you obviously know, if you're paying attention, he didn't plant any seed. He didn't plant any seed. He might be the world's worst farmer, in fact. Right? And the point is that there is no fruit in fertilizer. It's an enhancer. There's no fruit in fertilizer. It's the same thing with medication, exercise, supplementation, food, all of it. There's no healing, right? There's no fruit in any of that stuff. It's fertilizer. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Same thing with all of your tasks during the day. There's no fruit in it. You got to fill yourself up on the front end of the day. Find tools that allow you to increase your productivity. Okay? Those are the seeds. Those are the seeds. Because your day is just fertilizer. It's just going to magnify whatever's already there. It's the same thing in health. Right? You have to plant the seeds. You have to plant the seeds. But all of your doing is fertilizer. So am, have, do. I am and I have, and then I fertilize it, I magnify it with all of my doing. Versus do this to be this to have this. Spread fertilizer on the field in order to be and have. Well, it doesn't work that way. Right? Life doesn't work that way. And if this is a little too convoluted for you to listen to on the podcast right now, study it. Right? Am, have, do, be, have. The world is do, be, have. Your physiology is am, have, do. It's how your physiology works. Work with the paradigm, people. Right? Same thing with productivity. Work with the paradigm. Stand in opposition to the do be have. Stand in opposition to the Parkinson's law. Okay, so hopefully this isn't so esoteric that you don't get it, but more information if you want, you can probably find out. chronicdisease.com. Chronic, DIS-EASE.com. Chronic disease. The book that's coming out, I think it'll probably be out within the year here. Chronic disease is called Killing Chronic Disease. And it's the secret sauce. It's the stuff that I have found to be the difference between health and healing and sickness and disease for people that are just having a hard time. So people that don't get it. So, all right. I'm going to leave you guys with that here today. So it's been a little bit of a hodgepodge, right? But hopefully you got enough information to make this actionable for you. So follow the links in the podcast notes below. Get the information. Study it. Make it applicable. Enjoy. Thanks for listening, everybody.